Why your deepest wounds trace back to your mother. Jung explains there's a strange kind of philosophy we absorb before we can speak. It doesn't come from books or lectures or debates. It comes from touch, from gaze, from presence or absence. It comes from the one person whose existence precedes our own, our mother. Carl Jung, the towering Swiss psychologist and philosopher, once said that the greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of the parent. But what if it's not just their unlived dreams that become our inheritance? What if the very architecture of our psyche, our deepest wounds, our invisible fears, our compulsions for love, validation, control, or even self-destruction all trace back to how we experienced our mother, or more precisely, how she experienced? We don't remember being born, but our body does. We don't recall the first time we were left crying in a crib too long, but our nervous system learned something from it. We don't remember the way our mother looked at us when we reached for her, but we carry the imprint of that gaze. Was it warm? Was it distracted? Was it proud? Was it burdened? The mother is the first mirror. Before we know who we are, we know how she sees us. And in many cases, we become that reflection. But what happens when the mirror is cracked? Jung proposed the concept of the Great Mother archetype, an ancient universal force that lives in every psyche across cultures and time. She is both the nurturer and the devourer, the giver of life and the withholder of love. In her most integrated form, she provides safety, nourishment, and a secure sense of self. But in her shadow form, she becomes oppressive, engulfing, or absent. And it's not just literal mothers that shape this experience, it's the maternal energy that surrounds us in our earliest years. If that energy is fragmented, the child grows fragmented. If that energy is conditional, the child learns that love must be earned. And this becomes the origin of our psychological wounds.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
Now ask yourself, what did you have to become in order to be loved by your mother? Did you become perfect, quiet, helpful, invisible? Did you sense her joy when you succeeded and her coldness when you failed? Did you learn to read her emotions before you could read words? Did you become her emotional caretaker, her trophy, her project, her escape? These roles may seem benign, even noble, but they are masks. And behind every mask is a child wondering, if I stop performing, will she still love me? That question never really goes away. It just evolves. We take it into our friendships, our work, our romantic relationships. We find ourselves repeating the same dynamics with different people, unconsciously drawn to situations that echo the emotional blueprint we learned from our mother. If she was unpredictable, we date people who keep us guessing. If she was critical, we become addicted to external validation. If she was emotionally absent, we overfunction in every relationship, hoping to finally feel needed and seen. Jung called this the complex A cluster of unconscious patterns formed by early experiences that continue to shape our adult lives. But here's the twist. The mother wound isn't just about what happened. It's also about what didn't happen. The comfort that wasn't given. The words that weren't spoken. The safety that was never fully there. These absences create a deep, unnamed hunger in the soul. And because we don't remember the origin, we spend our lives trying to fill it with things that can't satisfy it: success, attention, control, romance, even spirituality. We build castles of achievement on a foundation of unresolved yearning. And then we wonder why we feel empty at the top. The tragedy is that many of us never question this pattern. We think our anxiety, our perfectionism, our people-pleasing, our fear of abandonment are just personality traits. But they're not. They're adaptations. They are the brilliant, heartbreaking strategies we develop to stay connected to our first love, our mother. And until we bring those adaptations into the light, they will continue to run our lives from the shadows. So let me ask you, what would it feel like to stop performing? To stop earning love and simply receive it? Can you imagine a version of yourself that doesn't need to be perfect to be safe? That doesn't need to be useful to be worthy? That doesn't need to be chosen to feel like you belong? These aren't just therapy questions. They are spiritual questions. Because the path to wholeness always begins with confronting the original wound, not to blame, not to judge, but to understand. To see with compassionate clarity that your suffering has a source. And that source is not a flaw in you. It's a rupture in the relational field you were born into. Jung believed that the task of adulthood was to bring the unconscious into consciousness, to make what was once instinctive now intentional. And nowhere is this more urgent than in our relationship with the mother archetype. Because if we don't heal our wound with the mother, we will seek her in every boss, every lover, every friend, every spiritual teacher. And we will continue to be disappointed, because no one can give us what she couldn't not until we give it to ourselves first. This isn't about blaming our mothers. It's about seeing them clearly, as women with their own wounds, as daughters of their own unlived lives. And in seeing them clearly, we begin to reclaim the parts of ourselves we lost trying to earn their love. The devouring mother, how overprotection creates powerless adults, and the illusion of safety there is a form of love that doesn't feel like love at all, at least not in the long run. It looks like protection, like constant help, like hovering concern. It sounds like, "I just want what's best for you, or you'll understand when you're older." It comes with warm meals, clean clothes, and 1,000 subtle messages that say, "You can't do this without me." Carl Jung called this archetype the devouring mother, a force that appears caring but slowly consumes the autonomy of the child. And what makes it so dangerous is that it's often mistaken for devotion. But deep down, it's not about the child's well-being. It's about the mother's fear of being alone, irrelevant, or unneeded. We rarely question these dynamics because they're embedded in culture, tradition, and even morality. A mother who sacrifices everything is praised. A child who becomes her emotional anchor is considered good. But what happens to that child? What happens when love is so enmeshed with control that there's no space left for selfhood? What happens when every risk is blocked, every decision second-guessed, every failure preemptively avoided in the name of protection? The answer is this: the child may survive, but they will not become. Jung understood that the psyche needs friction to grow. We need to fall, to question, to explore, to separate. But the devouring mother doesn't allow this. She smothers under the guise of nurturing. She becomes the sun around which the entire family system orbits. And the child, especially the sensitive one, learns quickly. To challenge her is to break her heart. To separate is to be ungrateful. To assert independence is to cause pain. So rather than risk that guilt, the child adapts. They stay small. They stay dependent. They internalize her fears as their own. And in doing so, they lose the ability to trust their own voice. Now ask yourself, were you ever allowed to fail? Were you ever trusted to make your own choices, even when they were messy? Or did you feel like your mother's happiness depended on your obedience, your success, your emotional availability? If you're nodding right now, you might be carrying the invisible chains of a love that never let you go, not out of cruelty, but out of fear. The result? Adults who are chronically unsure of themselves. Adults who second-guess every decision. Adults who feel guilty for wanting space, for setting boundaries, for choosing differently. Adults who secretly resent their mothers but can't admit it, because to do so feels like betrayal. And so the wound festers. It turns inward. It becomes anxiety, depression, indecision, or underachievement. And all the while, the mother may still be saying, "I just want what's best for you," unaware that her love has become a cage. But here's the paradox. The devouring mother doesn't just wound through control. She wounds through dependency. She needs to be needed. And so she unconsciously raises children who never fully leave, who never fully stand on their own, who never fully say, "This is my life." And because the child's identity is so fused with the mother's emotional state, they often don't realize how much of their adult behavior is still a reaction to her. They think they're making choices freely, but in reality, they're still seeking her approval or avoiding her disappointment. This is why Jung's work is so revolutionary. He didn't just talk about the mother as a person. He talked about the mother as an inner force. Even after she's left the room, the archetype remains. It becomes the voice in your head that says, "Don't take that risk. Don't upset anyone. don't be selfish. It becomes the internalized fear that if you truly step into your power, you'll be abandoned. Because to the psyche of a child, separation can feel like death. So how do we break free? Not by rejecting our mothers, but by differentiating from them. By recognizing that love does not require enmeshment, that autonomy is not betrayal, that we are allowed to become something beyond what they imagined for us. We begin by seeing the devouring pattern for what it is, not love, but fear wearing love's mask. And once we name the pattern, we can choose differently. We can take risks. We can disappoint. We can fail. And in that failure, we can finally start to build a self that is real, not just a reflection of a mother's hopes and fears. Mother hunger and the search for the feminine soul. While you're still chasing what you never received, there's a hunger that isn't physical. A hunger that doesn't go away with food, success, sex, or even love. It gnaws at the edges of your soul, quietly shaping your choices, your relationships, your sense of worth. It's often misdiagnosed as anxiety, or masked as ambition, or buried under a life of compulsive caretaking. But if you trace it back far enough past your adult struggles and into the shadows of your childhood, you'll find its origin. It's the longing for the mother you didn't have. Not necessarily because she wasn't there, but because she wasn't able to give you what your soul needed most. Emotional attunement, unconditional acceptance, and embodied feminine presence. This is what some psychologists have come to call mother hunger, but Jung would have recognized it instantly as the soul's cry for the lost feminine. When Jung spoke of the feminine, he wasn't referring to gender. He was talking about an archetypal energy, receptive, nurturing, intuitive, creative, grounded in the body and in the present. The feminine is what holds, what listens, what sees without judgment. It is the inner space in which the true self can emerge. And when this energy is absent in the early years of life, not just in the mother, but in the environment itself, a child grows up disconnected from their inner life. They learn to perform instead of feel, to achieve instead of rest, to please instead of express. Because there is no safe container for their truth, they begin to abandon themselves in order to survive. But self-abandonment always creates longing. And the tragedy is that most of us spend our lives trying to fill that original void with things that were never meant to satisfy it. We chase romantic partners, hoping they'll finally give us the unconditional love our mothers couldn't. We throw ourselves into work, hoping productivity will give us the worth we never felt as children. We become hyper-independent or hyper-attached. We become addicted to approval, to control, to caregiving, to chaos. And through it all, we keep asking the same silent question, will someone finally see me? Here's the heartbreaking part. Even when we do find love, it often doesn't land. We can't fully receive it. There's a part of us that doesn't believe we're worthy of it, or doesn't trust it will last, or unconsciously sabotages it to protect ourselves from future abandonment. Why? Because the part of us that needed that love the most, the child, is still waiting for it to come from the mother. No adult relationship can heal a wound that's frozen in time. Until we go back to the source, we remain stuck in a cycle of chasing what we never received. Jung believed that healing begins with integration. That means bringing the unconscious hunger into consciousness. It means naming what we've been afraid to name. I wanted more. I needed more. And I didn't get it. That truth is painful. It threatens the idealized image of the mother. It forces us to confront grief, anger, and even rage. But without that reckoning, we stay trapped. We keep giving from an empty cup. We mistake self-neglect for strength. We call our trauma normal. We call our hunger love. So ask yourself, what am I still hoping my mother will give me? Whose love am I trying to earn by being good, successful, beautiful, or helpful? What would happen if I stopped chasing and started grieving? These questions are not easy. They threaten the very foundation of our identity. But they are the doorway to freedom. Because beneath the hunger is something sacred. The feminine soul that was never fully welcomed, never fully mirrored, never fully named. And here's the paradox. The very thing you were denied, the nurturing, the presence, the softness, you now have the power to give yourself. That's the work. That's the integration. It's not about blaming the mother, but about reclaiming the lost feminine within you. The part of you that can sit with your sadness without needing to fix it. The part that can say, I'm here, I see you, you're enough, and actually mean it. This is the reparenting Jung alluded to, not with techniques, but with presence, with soul. When you begin to feed your own hunger with compassion instead of striving, something shifts. You become less reactive, less desperate, less governed by invisible scripts. You stop looking for your mother in every person you meet. You stop trying to be everyone's savior. You stop abandoning yourself to keep others close. And instead of chasing love, you become love. Not the performative kind, but the kind that holds without needing to control or be controlled. The kind that says, you don't have to be anything but here. And in that moment, the hunger begins to quiet. Not because it has been erased, but because it has been understood. Becoming the mother within, how healing the maternal wound awakens your true self. There comes a moment, if we're honest enough, if we've suffered enough, when we realize no one is coming to finish the story for us. No one is going to arrive with the exact words we needed as children. No one is going to reach back into the past and rewrite our first heartbreak, our first abandonment, our first experience of feeling unseen. The mother we dreamed of, the one who would understand us without explanation, who would hold our pain without flinching, who would never leave, that mother may never exist outside the imagination. But Jung teaches us something radical. What we didn't receive from the outer mother, we are called to cultivate in the inner world. We are called to become the mother we always needed. This isn't just a psychological trick or a feel-good affirmation. It's a profound act of individuation, the sacred process Jung described as becoming whole. Individuation is not about becoming someone new, it's about reclaiming what has always been buried under layers of adaptation and fear. And the maternal wound, when left unexamined, becomes the heaviest layer of all. It shapes our inner voice, our self-image, our capacity to love and be loved. But when we turn toward it with courage, we begin to dissolve the illusion that we are broken. We begin to see that what we thought were flaws, neediness, sensitivity, fear, were really the echoes of unmet needs. To become the mother within is not to erase the past, but to bring it into the light. It means sitting with the younger version of ourselves, the ashamed teenager, the anxious child, the unseen infant, and saying the words we never heard. I see you. I believe you. You're allowed to feel this. You're not too much. You're not alone. And at first it might feel fake. The inner critic, which often speaks in the voice of the wounded mother, will interrupt. You're being dramatic. You're just looking for attention. But over time, as we stay with ourselves, something begins to shift. The inner mother grows stronger. The self becomes steadier. This is not a linear process. Healing the maternal wound is cyclical, like the moon, like the seasons. There will be regressions, moments of deep grief, times when you feel like a child again. That's not failure, that's integration. The goal isn't to transcend your humanity, but to embrace it with compassion, to feel everything you once had to numb, to speak what was once unspeakable, to let your tenderness become your strength. And here's the most beautiful paradox. The more you mother yourself, the less you need others to do it for you. You stop unconsciously projecting the mother archetype onto your partners, friends, or mentors. You stop trying to earn love through sacrifice. You stop fearing abandonment because you no longer abandon yourself. And in that self-loyalty, you discover a new kind of power. Not the power to control others, but the power to live in truth. To choose relationships out of desire, not desperation. To give without depletion. To walk away when love demands your silence. Jung believed that the healing of the world depends on the healing of the individual soul. And there may be no wound more foundational, more universal than the wound of the mother. But it is also the doorway to the deepest transformation. Because to mother yourself is to reclaim your life. It is to say, I may not have been given everything I needed, but I will no longer live as if I am still starving. So I ask you now, not as a philosopher, but as a fellow traveler on this path, what would your life look like if you nurtured yourself the way you once wished to be nurtured? What possibilities would open if you stopped waiting for someone else to say you're enough and said it to yourself today with conviction? You are not here to repeat the patterns of the past. You are here to break them. You are here to become rooted in your own soul. You are here to become the mother within. And in doing so, you awaken not just your true self, but the future your unloved child never stopped believing was possible. This is not the end of your story. This is the beginning of your becoming.